Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are finally going to talk about JSON and REST APIs. Now here's the thing. If you watched this entire crash course until now, that means that you already know how to work with JSON because we created a module that is responsible for rendering JSON. But just in case you didn't watch the entire crash course, I'm going to show you once again how to render JSON on an endpoint. So I'm going to do that, show you how to render JSON on an existing Phoenix app. Then we're going to use the JSON generators to quickly scaffold a JSON API endpoint. And then finally, we're going to create a new Phoenix application that is API only, meaning that there's no asset management, HTML, live view whatsoever on this new app, just JSON, okay? For now, we're just going to create a new JSON endpoint on an existing application, just so you know how to do it. And it's super easy, okay? We're going to open up our router. Inside this router, as you can see, we have some routes, but they are all returning HTML. Usually, you could return JSON here as well, but usually we create a new scope that is /API. And this pipes through this API pipeline. So in order to return JSON, the first thing that you need to do is call this plug accepts JSON. Now, our browser pipeline already accepts JSON, so we can return JSON on our normal scope. But for this video specifically, I'm going to create a new pipeline that goes through this API pipeline and is just going to return JSON. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new route called get. I think it's going to be called /products. And then here I'm going to create a new controller, API controller. And then inside it, we have the index function. And of course, we get a warning because this controller does not exist yet. So inside shop web controllers, I'm going to create a new file, API underscore controller.ex. Here, it's the module, API controller. We need to use shop web controller. And then here, we're going to query the products. So ideally, we do an alias here, then def index. This looks almost perfect. We have an index function that receives a con, the params. We're not going to use the params for anything. We're querying the products from the database. And I'm going to replace this with con, then a couple of pipe operators. I'm going to say assign. We're going to assign products. And then we're going to run the render function. But here we need to pass an atom. Okay. By calling the render function like this, Phoenix expects another module that is going to be responsible for rendering whatever you want to render. In our case, it's JSON. So inside controllers, I'm going to create a new file called API underscore. And then this is where usually we add the format that we want to return. So it's API underscore JSON.ex. This is just a module. And then usually we name it with JSON and HTML all uppercase on the module. So we say API JSON like this. Then we have an index function. This index function needs to accept an assigns. And all you have to do here is return a map. That's all. And instead of grabbing the assigns and doing dot products, I think I'm going to do some pattern matching because I am addicted to pattern matching. Say products, it's assigned to products. Here I'm going to say the products is equal to this product that we're grabbing from the assigns. Now, if we run the server, this should be able to work on /API products. So let me go back. We have our regular products page, but now we're calling API /products. Now watch this. I haven't talked about this yet, but usually if you're returning JSON, it is recommended for you to implement this JSON.Encoder module on top of your schema file. And with this command, you can specify like which fields from the database you want to show on your API. So it is highly recommended for you to do this. We can just copy this. Okay, and now we need to go back to our product schema. There you go. We need to add this on top of the schema, and this only accepts a list of atoms. So I want to show name, console, and slug. I think that's good for now. All right, so if I go back, let me refresh. There you go. Now we have products, name, Hearthstone, PC only, slug, Hearthstone. We also have Call of Duty, which is exclusive to Xbox, and then Spider-Man, exclusive to PlayStation. Very cool. So that's all you need to return JSON on an existing application. Super simple. You just call your regular render function. Instead of creating the module name followed by HTML, you follow it with JSON. And instead of returning hicks, you return a map. Super easy. Nice. Now, to avoid losing this work, I'm actually going to commit this. I'm going to say add API controller, because right now we're going to run the JSON generator, and that creates lots and lots of files. So let's not mix those together. Add API controller. Nice. Now, we're going to use the generators. And if you don't know anything about generators, you should watch the previous video. But inside Phoenix, we have this thing called mix tasks that you can use in order to quickly scaffold something, right? So in the previous video, we scaffold the context and then we scaffold the HTML, but now I want to do it with JSON. So I'm going to copy this command. And the syntax is the same. You first need to specify the name of your context. So here, I think I'm going to create promotions again. So I'm going to say promotions, followed by the name of your schema, which is promotion singular. Don't forget to add uppercase, because both of these are modules, and in Elixir we use uppercase for module names, followed by the name of our database table, which is promotions, plural. Promotion is going to have a name, which is a string, followed by a code, which is a string and unique, followed by, I think that's it for now. For simplicity purposes, I'm going to keep it super simple. I need to run mix ecto migrate. Yeah, we're going to get a bunch of errors here. Makes sense because we did not add this new resources, okay? Now let me go back to router. Inside my API scope, I need to do this. Resources promotions. Okay. Now, before we inspect the code that was generated, we're going to test what was generated, right? So for this, I downloaded an HTTP client. I like using Insomnia, but could be Postman or whatever other HTTP client that you prefer, or even curl on the database. So I just created a empty collection here, shop. Okay, now let's inspect which routes were created. To do that, I like running mix phx.routes, and I'm gonna grep by promotion. Okay, we have all of those routes. I think for now I'm just gonna create a get API promotions. So let me create a new one. I'm gonna create a new folder called promotions. Inside here, I'm gonna create a request. This will say list all promotions. Nice. Here, I want to call HTTP colon localhost port. Get out of here, Grammarly. I don't want you here. Okay, port 4000 /API /promotions. I think this is enough to query all the promotions. Oh yeah, I need to start the server, right? IX. Okay, let me send. Okay, we now have an object with data, and we did not create any promotion, which makes sense. Now, in order to create a promotion, we have the post API promotions. So I'm going to create a new request. It's going to be create promotion. And then this is not a get, this is a post. I'm going to copy this URL, paste it here, API promotions, and then I need a body, right? The body, it's JSON. We need for promotion a name, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna say the name will be Daniel Promo. And the code will be, I think I'm gonna increase the font. The code will be Daniel. Let's send it. What did we get it wrong? We need a name, code, and name, Daniel Promo. Let me inspect this error on the terminal because reading it here is a bit horrible. Following arguments. Am I using the right HTTP? Post, API, promotions. Yep, that's right. So let me inspect my promotions controller. Promotions controller. We have create. Oh, right. That's right. We are expecting a promotion field, and then inside the promotion, we're expecting those fields. So instead of doing this, I need to have a promotion field, and then inside this one, I can have name and code. Let me beautify this, and again. Okay, it seems to have worked. If I go list all of them again, now we have Daniel. Let me create another one. I'm gonna say Christmas gift. The code will be Christmas. Let me send that. Okay, we now should have 2 promotions. There you go. I mean, you could test all of those endpoints, but to be honest, like I know they're working, so I'm just gonna show 2 for simplicity purposes, and you can test the other ones. Okay, so this is working. Now let's inspect a little bit of the code. That's the interesting part. Check this out. You already know by now that a Phoenix generator generates the schema, the context. So if I open up shop, you have promotions with the schema, you have promotions, the context. This is nothing new, but the interesting part is the shop web. So inside controllers, watch this. We have the promotion controller, which is pretty much identical to a regular HTML controller, right? We grab the promotions, we render the promotions. We grab the promotion from the ID inside the params, and then we render. That's the cool part. Like, we just call render here. It doesn't matter if we're rendering HTML, JSON, or XML, whatever format you want, doesn't matter to the controller. We have a separate file dedicated just for the rendering. But the render function here is all we do. Call render, okay? Actually, there's one slight difference here, which is instead of redirecting, for example, we're putting a response header, and this is going to an API endpoint instead of just promotions, but that's a tiny difference. Now, if we go to promotion JSON, this is responsible for rendering JSON. So we have the index, and instead of just calling index and showing the promotions, we have this data function right here. Why do we use that? Well, that's usually because sometimes you want to hide a certain field, or you want to generate a new field on the fly. So for example, you're listing users, you have first name and last name. Then you have this data function right here where you can generate a new field. So for example, you have promotion. I can create a new field called, I don't know, display name. Display name will be display name will be maybe the name. followed by the code. I don't know, something like this. Whoops, promotion name and promotion code. Okay, so, oh yeah, and my cat is going to meow and he's going to show up here. So say hi to Miguel. Now if I go back to Insomnia, and if I try listing all the promotions, now you can see that we have code, ID, name, and display name. So that's why we usually have this data function right here. Oh yeah, and Miguel, he loves licking my face. I don't know why. So that's why we have this intermediary function called data. This is responsible for hiding fields or adding new fields. So I'm gonna remove this. Nice. Now here's the interesting part. Let's open up controller again. Let's take this one for example. We're creating a promotion, right? But where's the error? Like, we're not handling the error. We're just saying, hey, create promotion. But what if something bad happens? Do I need to manually go here and add an if else and handle the error? Not really. You can go to this file called the Fallback controller. This is a way for Phoenix to centralize all the error handling. So on the controller, when you're dealing with JSON, you don't really care about the errors. You just assume that everything is going to work, and if any error happens, then you're going to run the fallback controller. And here is where you catch each individual error. So for example, if you receive an error and a change set, this is going to run. If you receive an error and a not found as the second item of the tuple, this is going to run. And if you have any custom error, so for example, if you have an error that is called unauthorized or something, inside the fallback controller, you can create a new call, and now you're expecting an error and unauthorized. And here you do whatever you want. You're free to handle any error as you wish. Okay, so we have the fallback controller. And then we also have the change set JSON, which is responsible for like serializing the change set and properly showing on the JSON. But that's it. And then the tests that were generated, as you can see, they are expecting JSON. So if we go to the product controller, instead of saying assert HTML response, we're writing assert JSON response. But that's it for today. So nothing really new, to be honest. And actually, to finalize this video, we're going to create a new Phoenix application with no asset management. And in order to do that, as you can see on the documentation, let me scroll down. Where is it? JSON and APIs. If you click here, and I always send the documentation link on the description of the video. Scroll down. API-only applications. You have all of these options available to you if you want to bootstrap a new Phoenix application without asset management. Now here's the thing. Unfortunately, we don't have a flag --API. This would make our lives easier, but we don't have that. So we're going to close this server running. Let me open up the terminal. And then here, I am going to start a new Phoenix app. I'm going to say mix phx.new. Here you can name whatever you want. So like app for now. Let's check all the options together. We have --no assets. This is the equivalent of removing ESBuild and Tailwind. So I think this is good. I'm going to copy this. No assets. Nice. What else? No Ecto. No, I want Ecto. No ESBuild. This is already included in no assets. GetText. It's responsible for internationalization. So I don't think I want to remove that. This is another thing that we want. We do not want to generate any HTML views. So I'm going to paste it here. No live. I don't want to do anything related to sockets or live view. So I'm going to paste it here as well. Again, no mailer, not exactly related to API only applications. This is just if you want to remove the email sending part of the app, but I don't want to remove that. And then no tailwind that is already included if you pass no assets. So this is pretty much all you need if you want to start a new Phoenix app without any asset management. So like a REST API only application. Let me run that and then we can see the code together. But I mean, you probably already know by now that the only difference in this app is that the modules responsible for rendering, they're gonna end in JSON instead of HTML. That's it. Say code app. I do trust these authors. That's me. I think I trust me. So if I go here, actually I need to generate something in order to see it. But for now, let's just open the router. As you can see, the router is very slim. We have pipeline API. We have the scope API. No browser or anything. If I open up my mix file, if I try searching for, I don't know, Tailwind, there's nothing here. ESBuild, there's nothing here. So if I scroll down, you have a very slim version of Phoenix, which just includes Phoenix, Postgres. We could remove Swoosh and the live dashboard if you want. And then we have JSON. That's it. And then on the aliases, which is different from our shop, for example, on our shop, we have a bunch of aliases for downloading Tailwind, building the assets, and then deploying the assets, but we're not doing any asset management on this new app. So all we have is the setup to download the dependencies and set up Ecto. So nothing related to assets. So that's pretty much it. Short video today. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.